Come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off because today I'll be sharing a bit of a how to play, as well as my review of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition from Freeze Games and Stronghold Games. Does this streamlined edition provide the same gaming goodness as Terraforming Mars with a shorter gameplay time and smaller footprint? Or does Ares Expedition fail to leave the launch pad? Well, you're going to find out right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, today I'm going to share a bit of a how to play, as well as my review of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition from Freeze Games and Stronghold Games. It's designed by Jacob Frizilius, Sydney Engelstein, and Nick Little, with artwork provided by Bill Bricker, Garrett Cada, Neil Mendoza, Justine Norier, Naomi Robinson, and Andre Steff. And I apologize up front because I guarantee I've mispronounced at least two people's names there. This game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 60 minutes according to the box, which I will discuss that during the review. And it does carry a couple of different MSRPs because we have a retail edition, which is what I'm reviewing, and it does carry an MSRP of $39.99. And then there's also a collector's edition, which carries an MSRP of $49.99. I'll kind of mention what I think are the differences. I'm not positive, but I'm aware of at least one major difference between the two editions, and I will talk about that in just a bit. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition laid out. Kind of give you an idea what it's going to look like on your gaming table. So if you are not familiar with the Terraforming Mars lineup, the object of the game, amazingly enough, is to terraform the planet of Mars. Each of the players is going to be leading a corporation that is competing to be the biggest difference maker as far as the terraforming process. And to do that, they're going to complete projects, they're going to take actions to build forests, create oceans, build the oxygen content of the planet as well. So just to kind of give you an idea of the layout here, we've got our project cards. It is a huge stack, and I've even already got a hand of project cards that I've dealt to myself. But as you can see, there are a lot of project cards here. Thankfully, these cards do have a linen finish. In fact, the production quality and the component quality is really, really nice with Ares Expedition. We have linen finish on the quick start here. We have a linen finish on the rule book. The player boards have a linen finish as well. So these should hold up to repeated play pretty well. I will recommend, like I do with any game that's going to have cards that get shuffled quite a bit, probably going to want to sleeve your cards. All right. So kind of give you an idea what's going on. So this is our planet surface here. So we're going to track our oxygen here. We're going to track our temperature here as well. Then we have a track that runs along the side, and that is our terraforming rating. So each of the corporations, I kind of have this set up as a 3-player game with red, blue, and yellow cubes, which are going to move around the board here as you hopefully increase your terraforming rating. It's important to remember that this counts as money too, and I'll talk about that when we get into the production phase. So we also have player boards, look like so. So we are going to track production of mega credits, cards, because it's possible that you will have projects that are going to allow you to draw cards during the production phase. We have heat production, we have plant production, and then we also have our capacity for steel and titanium. So it's actually kind of our steel and titanium production, but we are not going to track how much of those resources we have. What we do track are mega credits, heat, and plants. So, nicely enough, we do have some little aids that are on here as well that tell us, okay, so these are the different phases of the turn, as well as these are the actions that you can take, along with actions that might be available from your project cards you've completed, but also shows us the different actions we can take as well. So, I'm going to discuss that when I get into the action phase. So each player is going to start off with a corporation card. Now, there are some cards, I'm going to have to get fairly close up to the camera. There's a little tiny dot next to the number. It's effectively the number of the card, which doesn't come into play at all, but there's a little dot next to some cards. So some of the corporations and some of the project cards, in fact, there are 16 starter projects. These are starter corporations. So when you're first learning how to play Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, it's recommended that each of the players utilizes a starter corporation. I will point out, though, this eco line seems to be kind of an underpowered corporation. Every player who gets this corporation kind of complains about it because their production starts off, they've only got one plant production. They start out with less money than everybody else. So I don't know. I've won playing as this corporation, but it is possible that if you get Ecoline, you might sit there and think, oh, I'm kind of behind the eight ball right off the bat. Because as an example here, Hellion, who I'm just pretending I'm playing as, they have like 3 heat production right off the bat, 28 mega credits, and they have a special effect where they can actually use heat as money. They can use heat as mega credits. Whereas Ecoline special is that they just pay 1 less plant when they're building forests. So like I said, some people feel it's a little unbalanced, but once you learn how to play the game, we've got a bunch of other corporations as well. And I'll be very honest, they are not necessarily balanced. So it is possible that when you're playing the game and you're using all the various different corporations that you randomly will receive to start off with, things may not seem balanced. So, but that's okay. I kind of like that. I think that's pretty cool. Something else I should point out is that some of your corporations are going to have an icon in the corner here. It's important that you remember, if you've got an icon in the corner, that actually counts as a prerequisite. So there are project cards that are going to have prerequisites of certain symbols or a certain level of oxygen or temperature or a certain number of tiles that have been flipped over for oceans. It's important to remember if you have, so for an example, this is a titanium symbol here. If something requires a titanium symbol, you've already got it. Just like here, same thing with titanium. And of course, Ecoline and their plants right there. You can see it's got the prerequisite. Each player is also going to start off with a hand of phase cards because there are 5 phases available. You're not going to play each and every phase every turn because each player is going to select a card and you're going to resolve those phases and ignore the phases that have not been chosen. One aspect during this planning step is, for an example, if I chose development, I have to, once we're done with the turn, I have to put this card off to the side because I cannot play the same phase twice in a row. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. I really like that. I like that aspect of the game. And it'll make you sit there and think, okay, so if I'm playing this turn and I'm gonna build this project, I'm probably gonna want to do production next because I'm gonna need money or I'm gonna need resources. So I like how you have to choose what phase is important to you, and then, of course, you can't play it 2 turns in a row. Something else that you want to keep in mind is sometimes you want to play a phase and you really feel that another player is going to choose that card. It's possible you may not choose that phase and choose something else because everybody gets to take part in these phases that are selected. So if another player chose, say, phase 2, you'll be able to take actions during phase 2, which is actually another building phase. And I'll go through the different phases as well. Then we've got our project cards. So we've got our various different projects. They are different colors. So we've got green, red, and blue. So green is usually production based. It'll do something during the production phase when you build it. And sometimes they will have symbols along the side here that will now count as a prerequisite. So here, this is steel. Now that does not increase your steel like capacity, but it counts as a prerequisite. If I had another project that required me to have this, I've got it covered if I've built it. So we've got, what is the cost? Tells us what is the project. So here, this is space heaters. This happens to be a starting project. You'll see there's a little dot down there. And it's going to give me a prerequisite. So it'll allow me to have this. So what does it do? So if it's a lightning bolt, it's going to tell me, okay, that is immediately going to take place. So it's an instant. So I get to draw a card when I play this project, when I build this project. Now, the game refers to completing these projects as playing a card. I found that a lot of the players had an easier time comprehending what's going on when you say building or completing a project, even though it's referred to as playing the project in the rules. This is also going to give us 2 heat production during our production phases. So we've got different things going on with our cards. So this is a trading post. So we gain 3 plants. It's going to give us 2 mega credit production. This has a prerequisite here that we have to have an oxygen level of red or higher. So here are the different levels for the oxygen as well as temperature. So this is an oxygen prerequisite. This is a science prerequisite. So you'll see here, it's actually super cheap to create this physics complex, but you must already have 4 science icons in play. So, and then it gives us victory points. This is going to indicate that we get victory points at the end of the game. Also, in this area here, it's always going to show us what is this good for during what phase. So it says when you raise the temperature, add 1 science resource to this card. So, and you've got all these extra cubes that you're going to utilize, that you can use these, or you can also use the resource cubes where we've got the copper or bronze is 1, our silver is 5, and the gold is 10. One thing I also like about this is in the original Terraforming Mars, we had these same kind of cubes, but they had like metallic paint on them. So after a lot of play, the edges of the paint would rub off. Well, these are solid plastic, so you don't have to worry about that. So let's take a look at, for an example here. So what is it? Archaebacteria, however it's pronounced. So it requires purple temperature, and it's going to count as a microbe. And once again, this is something, it's doing some production. So it's going to increase our production by 1 plant. So just to kind of give you an idea, you're going to start off with 8 project cards. And depending on the number of players, if you're just learning how to play, there are also the 16 starter projects that you want to include in those first hands. So as an example, when we play with 4 players and we've got a couple of people learning how to play, I'll deal out the 16 starter projects first before going into the rest of the project deck. So what takes place in a turn? Well, first off, you've got your planning step. So that's when you're going to select one of these phases that you want to take place. So phase 1 is development. So each player may play, build, complete, what have you, 1 green project card. Of course, if they have the mega credits to pay for it, if they've got the prerequisites, so on and so forth. A bonus to that is that if you play this card, you get to pay 3 mega credits less for that project that you complete. Now remember, everybody gets to take part in these phases. So even if I didn't play development, I still get to take part in the development phase. I just don't get the bonus. Now, if you're playing, 2, 3, 4 players, you're not just playing a solitaire game, and more than one person plays the same card, everybody who played that card will get that bonus. One thing that's kind of cool too is we've got these tokens here that when everybody has played their phases that they want to take place, you can just flip these over to show, okay, what are the phases we're actually going to be doing on this turn? And once you've completed them, you can just flip that right on over. So that's a nice little added touch to easily track what phase is going to take place and what phases have been completed and what phases you're going to ignore. So we also have phase 2, which is construction, which allows you to play blue or red cards. So blue cards tend to be kind of like organizations. A lot of times blue cards might give you some victory points as well. Actually, all color cards could potentially have victory point icons, but blue cards tend to be like groups, like consortiums and things like that you're forming. So red cards tend to be one-shot events that take place. Now, sometimes those might be worth victory points at the end of the game as well. So we also have a bonus. You can draw a card, or you could play an additional blue or red card during this phase. Then we've got actions. So the action phase allows you to activate any action that is on a card that you own. And of course, if you have multiple cards that have actions, you get to activate each of those cards. And you also are able to make some changes to the planet as well. So down here, once again, on our helpful little player board, it shows that we can pay 20 mega credits to create a forest, which is that token there. It counts as a victory point at the end of the game, and it also will increase the oxygen level by 1. Something to keep in mind with the terraforming rating. Whenever you raise the oxygen level or raise the temperature, you're going to advance 1 on the terraforming rating track. Don't forget that, because these are going to count as money during our production phase. So if you forget about that and you forget about adding your TR to your MC production, this game is going to take longer to complete. So we can do that. We can spend 14 mega credits and raise the temperature 1. Once again, that would earn us another spot on the terraforming rating. We can spend 8 plants to also build a forest. Once again, that's going to increase our oxygen level over here. We can spend 8 heat to raise the temperature. and we can spend 15 mega credits to reveal a tile, basically to create an ocean. And when you do that, you're going to get a little bonus. So there's a variety of little bonuses that are included for creating an ocean. So as an example here, if I had done this, I would gain a plant. So that would go into my resources here, my supply, and I would also get a mega credit, which would also go into my supply. So those are the actions that you can take place. Also, once again, don't forget, you could have project cards you've completed that provide you with an action. Then we have production. So the only way you're going to get mega credits, heat, plants, and you may have some special effect on a project card that allows you to do something during production, such as draw a card, only takes place during the production phase. So here, you're basically going to earn the mega credits that you are tracking here, plus your terraforming rating. Once again, it is key. Don't forget, add this to your cash that you're getting. So let's say, as an example, I've got, let's say my mega credit production is 2 because of projects I've completed, and I've got a terraforming rating of 4. Well, then that means during production, I'm going to get 6 mega credits, and that's going to go right into here with my supply. Whatever heat. Remember, this is my corporation, so my starting production is 3 heat. So whenever a production phase is played, I'm going to gain 3 heat. If I had plant production, I would gain plants. You do not gain steel. You do not gain titanium. That is through cards that'll show like the production down here. You might see a little steel icon. You might see a little titanium icon. What that means there is, as an example, so this physics complex. So it does have the prerequisite there, and it also has a steel symbol to it. If I have, let's say, steel capacity of 1, I would pay 2 fewer mega credits to build this. If I had steel capacity of 2, it would actually be 4 fewer mega credits in order to complete this project. Same goes with the titanium, except with titanium, and that is an example here of the titanium symbol. I would pay 3 less for each point of titanium capacity. So there we have that. Final phase we have available to us is research. So in the research phase, every player is going to get to draw 2 cards and keep 1. If you happen to play this as your chosen phase, you get to draw 5 cards and keep 2. There is a hand limit, so you may end the turn with no more than 10 project cards. And you need to discard if you have more than 10. Each card you discard, even if you're forced to discard, will gain you 3 mega credits. So it is possible that you're short on cash and you have some project cards in your hand and you're not over the limit of 10. You can still discard cards to get those mega credits. So it's important for you to know that, but also keeping in mind that only playing the research or having special effects or actions on your completed project cards are going to get you more project cards in your hand. So those are the 5 different phases of the turn. And then we have the end step, and that's when you're going to place the card you just played off to the side, and then you'll have 4 different phases now to choose from for your next turn. And of course, if you have more than 10 cards, then you're going to discard down to 10. So once all of these tiles have been revealed and we have the oxygen level up to 14%, and we have the temperature up to 8 degrees Celsius, it is going to trigger the end game. Now, one thing to point out is, like, say for an example, we're in the action phase, and everybody is looking to either like build forests, or they're trying to raise the oxygen level or raise the temperature level, and we're already maxed out. We maxed out during that phase. Everybody who has not taken their actions in that phase still can take the actions and get the benefits of the terraforming rating going up. So nobody gets screwed out of, being able to do a final action phase when these reach their capacity. Of course, that's not the case with tiles. Once the tiles are revealed, that's it. There is no, okay, well, I'm paying for a tile to get a bonus. That doesn't happen. But as far as the oxygen level and the temperature, when the phase takes place that these are maxed out, everybody still can take actions. They can still pay mega credits. They can still sit there and pay heat, plants, so on and so forth, and still get the benefits of that. When all of these tiles are revealed and these are maxed out, when that takes place, that activates the end game scoring. So, as an example here, let's say we still had production, we had research, but in this action phase, we've now revealed all the tiles and these are maxed out. We're going to ignore these. We are not going to complete these phases. So, we're just going to go directly to tallying up victory points. And you score victory points by your terraforming rating, as well as any victory points that you happen to have on your cards. And then each of your forests, and of course, we've got a 5 here in case you've got more than 4 of these. Each of these forests are also worth a victory point as well. So when you're actually building your projects, it's always recommended that you kind of stack them kind of like so. So as you're building your tableau, sort of like this, so that you can see all the icons for prerequisites as an example. You can also see the production as well, and any kind of maybe special action or special effect that that card may have. Now, it's very easy for all these victory point tokens to get covered up. So don't be shocked if you think you're winning the game and it comes down to the victory points and you don't. So I have seen that happen where somebody thinks, oh, yeah, I'm ahead by like 5 on the terraforming rating. I've got this in the bag. Well, nope. All these victory points get tallied up. Now, it's, this is public knowledge. These just sit out so you can see how many forest victory points somebody's got. But like I said, it's very easy for these to get covered up. So like I said, don't be shocked if you think, oh, I got this in the bag, and the game ends and you didn't win, which is cool. I like that. I actually like that quite a bit. So in essence, that is how you play Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition from Fricks Games and Stronghold Games. So let's swing on over to the other camera. So I'm going to share some final thoughts and provide a review score. I really dig Terraforming Mars. I enjoy it quite a lot. It does take a bit of time to play, and I will be the first to admit it is not the easiest game for newcomers to wrap their heads around. And if you don't have some of the various different expansions out there, the game can take quite a bit of time to ramp up. Now, the ramping up time, there's a bit of that with Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, I will admit, but not so much as just the core game of Terraforming Mars. So, does this provide the same sort of gameplay as Terraforming Mars? Yes, in my opinion, I think it does. And I love all the different scientific stuff, and it's all like legitimate science. It's not, oh, well, it's, the Death Star and things like that. So I definitely really dig that as well. The artwork throughout is very uniform and consistent. That was a knock that a lot of people had with Terraforming Mars, that the artwork was very hodgepodge. So you had some stuff that looked like it was, public domain art and photographs and things like that. That is not the case here. Definitely love that as well. Does this game play in 60 minutes? No, it does not. Maybe if you're playing the two-player co-op mode, maybe around 60 minutes. I have yet to play this competitively with 2 to 4 players and have it finish up in 60 minutes. Doesn't drag on, about 90 minutes or so. A little bit more when you've got some players just learning how to play. But once everybody's got a grasp of how Ares Expedition plays, about 90 minutes, maybe a touch more, you will see a bit of analysis paralysis take place. And especially since everybody's doing these phases all at the same time, you don't have that same like downtime where you're, somebody else's turn and you're like, okay, so I'm going to be doing this and that and this and things like that. So sometimes there's a little bit of pressure to get things done, and you're not going to have that same amount of downtime to kind of plan ahead. It's not terrible. In fact, I actually have played Ares Expedition with some folks who tend to be more apt towards analysis paralysis, and it's been fine. It's been all right. Should mention there is a major difference, to my knowledge, between the retail edition, which I picked this up at Target. I should point out, this is not a review copy that we took a peek at. I purchased this copy of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition at Target. And got to be honest, after Stephen Bonacore retired from Stronghold Games, I really didn't have any relationship with anybody else there. So I really don't kind of have a relationship with Stronghold Games anymore. So that's why I went and picked this up, because I really wanted it. So one of the big differences is in the retail, you just get the card stock as far as the player board. And it is easy to bump the table or bump your little board doing something and scatter your cubes all over. Thankfully, it's only happened to us once, because I always point out, try to put this someplace that your hands aren't going to be moving around. And we're pretty good as far as, being careful when we get up or sit down at the game table that we don't, jar it. With the collector's edition, which the MSRP is $10 more, it's $49.99, as opposed to the retail edition, which is $39.99. The collector's edition actually has a dual layered player board, so it's cut out, and your cubes aren't going to, jitter all over the place if you happen to bump this. So one thing I will mention, I wish I had done that. I wish I had gotten the collector's edition. I didn't, because I really wanted to get my hands on this. So I actually had gotten this not too long after it came out. Because of the pandemic, it has just been nigh impossible to get a lot of board game reviews done, especially play the games enough times for me to actually provide you with a real review, as opposed to, oh, I read these rules and it looks like. Anyway, I wish I had grabbed the collector's edition, especially because a lot of the online retailers who have it, the MSRP is actually a little bit less than if you just go to a retail store like Target and pick it up. So bad on me. Has nothing to do with the game itself. Just bad on me. I really dig Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. I would say I would probably break this out before taking Terraforming Mars out with most of the gang I play with. Now, my best friend Elliot Miller, his son Brian, they're pretty solid gamers. They do a lot of gaming like myself. So that I would probably go with Terraforming Mars. But just about everybody else, I got to say, I'm going to go with Ares Expedition because I get that same cool Terraforming Mars experience. It's much shorter gameplay, much easier for newcomers to wrap their heads around, and you don't need as much space. You do need quite a bit of space because your projects are all going to be lining up all over the place, but not as much space as Terraforming Mars. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition a 9 out of 10. I think it is that good. I think if you've been wondering if Ares Expedition provides you with that same great Terraforming Mars experience, the answer, in my opinion, is yes. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Although, as I record this, I am on a short hiatus until April 25th is when the dispatch shall return. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.